My name is Jimmy Purdy, shop owner, master tech, transmission builder, and the host of the Gearbox Podcast. Here I talk with new and seasoned shop owners, as well as industry professionals about day-to-day operations within their own shops and all the failures and successes that come along the way. From what grinds your gears to having to shift gears in the automotive industry, this is the Gearbox Podcast.
So do you market an oil change as a way to get cars in the door, Jimmy?
No,
at your shop, or is it, no, you're known more as like if you've got a problem and you want it fixed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's I mean, and I said moving from, because we were transmission specialty, so you only came to me if you had a transmission problem, right? And now we've slowly moved into more of the maintenance over the last 2 years, and it's slowly been that pivot or that shift, right, has been doing the inspections. Hey, bring it to us, let us inspect the whole vehicle, and then we'll give you analysis of what's going on. You have to pay for that, but we'll tell you exactly what you need. We'll give it to you in priority, verbiage, and so you know what you need to schedule for. And part of that was they'd come in with a transmission problem from another shop. The other shop didn't inspect it, right? So they're prepped to put a transmission in this thing. I said, look, how would you feel if you spent $6,000 on a transmission, you leave and your differential goes out, your water pump's leaking, right? So let's figure out exactly how much this car needs. Well, I just need a transmission. How do you know that? I don't even know that. Nobody knows that until somebody looks at the rest of the vehicle. So that was part of like the push of getting the inspections. But sure, we call it an oil service, right? And we try to market that as, let's inspect it. Once we get a list of things together, if you want an oil change, it'll be part of our oil service, and we won't charge you for that. It'll just be included in whatever other repair that we have on the lift.
Right.
And that's the thing. That's kind of how we've marketed our, in quotes, free oil change, right? Yeah. But it's part of the rest of the service that we're doing. Yeah. If they want to come in, they want to spend that kind of money to have us do it, I'll take it. But it's like we don't push that at all.
Mm-hmm. My boss is struggling right now because his oil changes are priced competitively, but we will have some customers that no, I'm coming there because the oil change is being performed by almost most of the time by a licensed technician, like an experienced license, not just a young person. Yeah, a lubie. And so they feel like that's good because if there's something that the car needs, they're being told about it. But my boss is struggling because it's like we do the 300%, the good DVI. And we have a customer that's like, we've tried to pitch him twice now on a brake service and they won't buy the brake service. And that frustrates my boss. He's like, okay, I'm putting the price of my oil changes up. It's not just going to be an oil change. It's going to be an oil change within an inspection because to me, I look at it and it's like, there's no point in doing the inspection. And other people argue this. There's no point in doing the inspection. If I tried to sell him the work that he needed last time, he's back now. The work has not been performed. He's still not interested in getting the work done. I don't need that customer here for just an oil change. Or if I do want to do the oil change, just the oil change alone, no inspection. Anything that you see that's a liability issue, you write it down. But I'm not. The idea that we're pulling filters out of a car when I can't sell the customer anything but the oil change is pointless. He or she is not concerned about the filter, right? To say, it's nothing makes me crazier than the customer comes in with a brake complaint and you write the estimate for the brake complaint. Part of the inspection is to pull the cabin filter. And somebody says, I haven't called the customer yet with the brake estimate because you haven't completed the estimate to pull the cabin filter. Oh my God, right? There's so many better ways to navigate that scenario than to say, I'm not selling $2,000 worth of brake work because the cabin filter hasn't been out. If you've got them for $2,000 worth of brake work, let's do the cabin filter for $20, throw it in and get it done. Yeah. Right. The idea that it's like, you got to complete the inspection before, man, I can't get wrapped around my head around that. I just can't do it because it's holding up the customer is not there for a cabin filter. They're there for a brake noise. The car doesn't feel safe. They want the damn car fixed to hold up production. One of the few times I'm going to use that word because, nobody's pulled a cabin filter. How many times you yanked the cabin filter and the thing was not going to go back in, right?
Yeah,
like
that's true too.
It's trash. You just dumped a bunch of dust all over the customer's floor mat.
The glove box full of shit just fell over the floorboard. You got to spend 5 minutes messing with their play toys and who else knows what's in the damn glove box.
I'm going to put cabin filters at $75, a hypothetical number here, right? And I'm going to ask the customer at the counter, do you remember the last time you did it? And if they can't say, Yes, I can. Then it probably needs one. Do you want one today? No, you don't. Cool. We're going to leave it exactly as it is.
Don't even touch it.
Don't even touch it. That liability thing, we get too far down that rabbit hole sometimes, I think, in the industry, because we're so scared of the customer calling up going, I was at another place and they pulled this thing out and you guys haven't checked it in a year. I can understand where, but the reality is that the bigger issue is here is why is that customer at another shop? Not that you didn't inspect their cabin filter, right? Like,
I think you're right too, looking at it as like a microscope. So I've told my technicians on that same note, especially on cabin filters, look, if you can easily access it, fine. If you pull the glove box and there's who knows what's in there, leave it alone. Leave it alone, right?
Yeah.
And it's the same with brakes. It's got drum brakes, leave the wheels on. How do I know what the shoes look like? Don't matter. Make a note, mark it red, say you need to inspect it. Cabin air filter, can't get it out, mark it red, preventative maintenance. Fuel filter, can't see it, mark it red, preventative maintenance. It's just about the communication. You don't need to look at this stuff. You just need to mention that we've thought about it, right? And I think that's hard because a lot of people don't think their minds are worth money. And so like you don't think your knowledge is worth just the suggestion. You need to put your physical hands on it and get a picture of it. And that's where the DVIs has a problem too. And Dutch has talked a lot about that too. He thinks the DVIs are garbage because you could take a picture of anything. And I don't agree, but I don't disagree, right? I'm in the middle. Like I think it's nice. People like the pictures. People like to see their vehicle and see like we're right. But the main thing is your intelligence and your knowledge of knowing your way around a vehicle is what the client's paying for. So if it's got 100,000 miles on it and it's got a timing belt, you don't need to pull the cover off to look at it. If there's no sticker under the hood, it probably needs a timing belt. If there's no oil change sticker, it probably needs an oil change. How do I pull the dipstick out? And this oil looks dirty, but I can't tell if it needs, like, is there a sticker? No. Then it probably needs an oil change. Like, just use your brain, right? Like common sense stuff. Really, that's all I have to do? Yes, but what you don't understand is most average people that own cars don't have the intelligence that you have, guys. Like they don't know this stuff, and you do. It's it's so easy for you. This is your career, man. This is what you spent 10 years learning, and people just don't think that it's worth money.
But Jimmy, is that an obstacle for a lot of the times when we're trying to find competent advisors? Because, like a lot of them, what is routine for us or just common sense, like you just broke down those different scenarios, and I'm 100% with you on them. But to the advisor that, like, last month, maybe they were at Chick-fil-A, right? And now they're starting to get into auto repair and auto maintenance. It's not second nature to them, right? The customer's giving them, I don't want to say pushback, but the customer's asking a question and then they freeze. They go, I don't know. I don't know why.
I think two different directions on that. So you got the advisor that knows too much and the advisor that doesn't know enough. Right. And it's like either one you have a problem with. Right. You got one guy that talks himself out of sales because he wants to prove his educate and his technical ability. Right. And then you got the other side that freezes, that doesn't know how to say, I don't know. And for me, I think learning a lot, being on the service side of things is shutting my mouth. And for one, acting like, hey, I don't know. And I'm going to go check with my technician, even though I know the answer. Right. Like, well, I don't know the answer to that. Let me go talk to my technicians and get an answer for you and get back to you and formulate a proper answer instead of just blabbing some technical jargon that they're going to act like they understand, but they really don't, and losing the sale because you've over talked, right? Or not knowing and then just making something up and it works at the time, but you guarantee that client's going to go talk to their dad, their brother, their whatever, and find out like what did they tell you, right? And it could be a week later, right? So don't make stuff up either. Just say, I don't know, let me go check for you. And I think that's a hard thing for a service advisor because they are the face of the business, right? And you're trying to sell something which is already awkward enough. And so if you're selling something, you should know that product inside and out, right? We've all always heard that from Sales 101. Know your product before you sell your product. And that doesn't work in auto repair at all. No. I don't think at all. Like you have to say, I don't know. I'll get the answer for you and get back to you. I'm just here to advise you of what the technicians found. But then over time, that relationship fractures. So the advisor doesn't trust the technician doesn't like the advisor or whatever, and so they don't want to go talk to the guy. And it's so weird how that happens. But for it to work good, you have to have that trust and then be able to say, disengage, I don't know the answer to that, I can find out for you. And 9 times out of the 10, the client goes, oh, not a big deal. They're just trying to ask a question because they want to feel like they're involved, and they
Yeah.
want to feel like, hey, I know stuff, so don't try to get one over on me. But
Right.
in real world, they don't really freaking know. They don't want the answer.
We had a situation. We got talking this week, and my boss was like, and this is where him and I are different. He's like, well, would you put that down on the sheet as like red, yellow, or green? And I'm like, you should figure out by now almost nothing for me is yellow, right? I don't believe in yellow. He kind
I'm
of
with
looks
you
at me,
100%.
it's like, what do you mean by that? And I'm like, well, if it's here, it should be done right now.
Absolutely.
Right. If it's, I don't want them to wait, because at the dealer, you know, and everything goes back to dealer flat rate with me. And this kind of the way my brain is wired itself is that, because if I don't do it right now, somebody else might do it next time it comes in. Right. Even though I made the Rex and I found the work and I sold the thing and I blah, 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 I might be on holiday and I don't get that job. I think more advisors at shops or managers, if you're listening, you need to adopt that same policy.
Yep.
If it's being worth being written about, estimated, documented, filmed, the whole thing right now, you want to sell it right now. To me, it's asinine to go through the estimate of estimating something going, oh, but you don't need to do that right now. I think that's where we can speed up the process a bit and go, hey, this is leaking right now, but it's wet. Like, it's not dripping. It's a little bit, it's, you know, we all know those kind of leaks. I'm not going to give them the estimate right now for that and tell them that it can go 6 months. The customer in 6 months probably isn't going to remember, or the customer in 6 months, if it's not substantially worse, is probably going to go, I don't need to fix that. If I document it, I think it should be fixed then, or prepped to be done then. I don't believe in yellow. And
if it got your attention, it needs to be done
yes.
now.
And the idea, when you've said her dad, we had two situations this week where it's like, we did the diag, sold the repair, performed the repair, and then the father calls us after the fact to say, oh, that's a lot of money, or that's really, like, she's a single mom. Like, that's, you know, somebody else was talking about how that, and it came up in one of the groups conversation just a couple of days ago. And I'm like, yeah, we went through that and it sucks. You know, I don't want to. Do you take that phone call, Jimmy, or do you just kind of like, you know,
you mean me personally, like to step in?
Yeah.
No, I try not to.
Mm-hmm.
I try to stay out of stuff as much as possible, and I just let them know if you guys need something, or and I do my shop walk, you know, and my wife Leanne, she handles the office,
yeah.
So they have their thing going on, and then I just do my walk through the shop and see where everybody's at, and, you know, look through the ROs and see what repairs going on, and then that way I know kind of in my brain where they should be at certain times, and I should see certain components being off, you know, like, and if it's not, then I know something's hold up. So that's kind of my main day-to-day walkthrough. When it comes to clients like that, I think just listening to the phone call, and then again, not saying what went wrong, but like, hey, so next time, you had a lot of great points you brought up, but next time don't engage in that part of the argument, right? And I think we had a call yesterday about a pretty big job, a Nissan timing chain job on one of the 370s. Big job. I mean, it's like 6,000 or 7,000, right, for everything. And it was about using aftermarket parts, and then he wanted the client wanted to go buy all the parts from Nissan. Well, what if I go buy all the parts from Nissan? And it's like, well, that's the same parts you guys are using, because it was like, well, we're not going to use aftermarket. It's Nissan only on this thing. Like, there is no other garbage we can put on there. Okay, so I'll go down to Nissan and I'll buy the parts and I'll bring them to you. We can't really do that. And it was like, and you could tell it was like kind of unraveling the conversation a little bit, and it just reined it back in where it's like, look, and this is what I told our advisor, like, you can tell them that's where we make our money. And that's what he said. Like, well, we make money on parts. So our quote is based on the fact of us making a certain percentage on these dealer parts. Right. Sure, we get them a slight bit cheaper, but not much more. But if you wanted to get your parts, we would have to rework the whole quote and change the labor, because that's how we make our money on the job. And that was it. But I think a lot of people have a hard time because they think profit's a bad word, and like, oh my God, you're making money on parts. And then everyone looks online as a client or a consumer, and the number one thing is, oh, you can save money on auto repair by buying your own parts. And then most shop owners are like, they don't know what to do in that situation. Like, oh, you
Yeah.
caught me with my pants down. I am making money on parts,
Yeah.
and okay, just bring them in and we'll do it. Like, dude, that's your whole, it should be, it's like your whole price should be based on the fact that percentage on parts. So you're not charging 300 and some odd dollars an hour, right? Like, like,
Yeah. Well,
so
and because
yeah.
otherwise, like, we can't get the industry on a more uniform scale where it's like people will not do that. And we had on TikTok, that was a conversation that popped up last month, and yeah, and it went phenomenal in terms of the conversation. But that lady was she was so perturbed by the end of it that, because same thing, she had like I think a Highlander, intermittent no start rain sensor. Her car guy friend tells her, oh, you just need, like, here's the part, from Advance. Here's the part. This is what they're putting in. And of course, so she calls up her shop after she's got the estimate for the same thing, drops it off, gets the diag done. Well, why am I paying that for that part? Like, it's the same part that you're buying it from Advance. I'm buying it. And so that shop owner then went, good for him, and adjusted the labor and gave her the estimate back on, oh, okay, you're going to bring your supply parts. Sorry, the price changes to this. And she lost her ever loving mind. My God, she made,
what a terrible way to handle that situation, though.
For who? Her or the shop owner?
For the shop owner. I mean, good on him to like recorrect it, but all you have to do is explain, look, everything's based on the fact of us making money on the parts.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know.
To me, I would have had more hats off to him if he just said, okay, then we're not going to bring your car in. But he had a long-standing, like she said, I think she'd been taking like her 3 cars to this guy for like upwards of 4 years. She never had a problem until somebody put in a bug in her that, like, hey, they're marking parts up. And then all of a sudden she had this shield to die on that, like, hey, I'm being ripped off because I'm a female. That's exactly where she took the conversation. And I was like, oh my God, are we still having this tired old narrative? And,
yeah.
I would have been like, the shop owner, just cut your losses. Right. And I can see maybe why he didn't, because it's like, there's 3 cars over how many years, like he could probably pull up a file and tell you how much profit he's made off of her. But to me, the process is the process. I draw the line in the sand. You're never going to reform her to show her. She already feels like, she literally said, I didn't know I've been being ripped off for this many years. You're never going to convince her at that point in future that you're not ripping her off. It's made up in her mind. So cut your losses. Don't break the process to bring the SOP parts in, customer supplied, excuse me, and allow it. Stick to your guns. But how many of us are not?
I'll counter that a little bit, because, and you're probably right in most situations, but that's a great opportunity to take the time to explain what we're talking about today, right?
Mhm.
And that's what I try to do. And if I'm involved in it, and if it gets to that point, and I listen to a conversation, I'll explain it to the advisor. I'll talk to Leanne. Well, she's already on the same page as well. But that is an opportunity as an owner to step in and explain the process and why that video she watched is 100% wrong, and why the internet is not the end all be all.
Right.
And you need to stop doing that. Like, for one, stop listening to the internet. For two, this is a local business that we're running, that we're paying, and the whole spiel, right? And it's not a spiel, it's the honest truth of what we're doing here, and trying to provide a community, service back to the community. And that's the opportunity that I want. And I think a lot of owners take that personally, and then they're already stressed beyond belief, and they don't have time to take. So I was just listening to the guy last night on Mike Allen's his little Zoom call, right? And he was talking about having to explain to this lady about a crank sensor wire that was shorted out, and she didn't understand what a wire is. Like, there's wire in my vehicle, and it's attached to a crank sensor, and which is part of the crankshaft. It's like, I don't even know where to start right now, right? But he's got a whole backlog of work, and he doesn't have the time to explain for 45 minutes why this wire needs to be repaired for $75. Like, I don't have the time for this. And that's also part of the problem too, because that's a hard thing to get out of. How do you get to the point where you have the time to explain that to this lady? Because it's not just that $75 repair, it's all the other vehicles in the future she's going to bring to you, because she understands that you will explain it to her if she needs it, right? And so that situation with that lady being upset, if you can take that and you can explain to her the process and how honest you're being and what it is she's paying for, she's only feels like she's getting ripped off because she doesn't know what she's getting paid for, right? Just like when they say they're going to fix our roads and they don't, and we're still spending money on tax. Like, we're getting freaking ripped off because you guys can't show me where the money's going. So
Right.
that's where she's at, right? Like, that's how she feels ripped off. So if you can explain to her where her dollars are going, then from that point forward, she'll never go anywhere else. So
Right.
you can flip that if you know, if you can. It's not easy, but
So
it's an opportunity.
but it goes back to what you were saying a few minutes ago, where you said like you have advisors at two extremes, one that doesn't know enough or one that knows too much.
True.
And I want to say that the one that knows too much probably is why so many people for years said, I'm never hiring a former tech as an advisor, because they'll probably talk themselves at a half of the repairs. They'll be able to say, oh, it doesn't need that done right now. I think that's what's still happening a lot in our industry, is when we take the technician, put them in the role of owner, which we all know a lot of the times when you're the owner, you're still the advisor too, right? Like my boss is he has that reputation, that relationship with those customers. So he is spending a lot of time talking to the customers. They're used to it. It's what they want. But man, I see him sometimes and it's like he's telling them, oh yeah, it's not a big urgency right now. And he's right. It isn't going to cause the car to burst into flames right now.
It's a big deal to the business, though.
Yeah, but it's so, I mean, how do you find that advisor that doesn't like know too much, but knows enough to be able to just have the conversation you just were talking about what a crank sensor is and a wire? How do you find that person?
Yeah, I think a lot of it's training.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's just 100% training, and yeah, and or just real world experience, right?
Yeah.
But even with real world experience, every shop's around a little different. Everybody's gonna have different things they're doing, and so I think just keeping training and constantly reviewing your own process. And man, it's psychology 101. Like, you
Yeah.
have to, just like was it Greg Buckley talks about? Or not? Is it no Jim?
Coconas?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
he talks a lot about psychology and just watching people come in and their mannerisms, and like learning people and learning your clients and learning what they, what kind of attitude they're going to be walking in today with, right? And that's something you can't teach.
Yeah.
And some people have that innate ability to read people and understand people, and that's what I look for when I'm looking for a manager or a service advisor. I just want to know you can have a conversation and you can pick up on these nuances, because the other stuff can be trained. Like, you can tell them, look, quit being so technical.
Yeah.
And I can have the text. Okay, so in this repair, I need you to be a little more detailed about what you looked at and what you're recommending. And they're just going to parrot that phrase or like soften it up a little bit to make sense. And I think having that disconnect of not being so technically savvy helps a lot too, because if the service advisor doesn't understand it, then you damn know the client ain't gonna understand it. So like, it helps to soften that up a little bit to get them to understand. And then the analogies, and I think a lot of time it's just experience. Like, how do you take a crank sensor and make someone that doesn't know what a vehicle is understand what a crank sensor does in 10 minutes?
Yeah.
Like, that's a skill all on its own. And I think that's more important. And I mean, don't get me wrong, nothing like a unicorn technician that can bump out 100 hours. But if you can get a guy that or girl can explain that cell in 10 minutes, that's way more important to the shop than a rock star technician.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been called up to do that countless times through my career. I think all of us have, when we get to a certain level where it's like the advisor comes up and goes, listen, the customer wants to talk to the tech. I don't really understand all this kind of stuff, and I feel like I might be fluffing the sale by not understanding. Can you come up and talk to them? And I don't mind it, but I mean, sometimes you just like, the more I get called on to do it, the more I shake my head and go, like, something's got to give here, because I mean, it's like,
So that's where I would step in. If they say, hey, you think, well, the technicians can come, I'll explain it. Like, I don't even know. Yeah, but you don't know anything. I'll look at the work order for a second. Okay, I understand what's going on here. Like, it doesn't need to be like this big technical show that's put on. And I definitely don't want the technician, like, that's not what his job is. Like, that is not what he's here to do.
Yeah.
So there's 100% no contact between the client and the technician unless the client wants to go out and shake his hand and say thank you. Like, that's it. It's 100% divided. There's no reason anything. And I tell in the office too, like, if you don't understand it, go pull a technician and get yourself to understand it so you can explain it. If that still doesn't make sense, get me, and then we'll all talk about it to get it to make sense.
Yeah.
And if it still doesn't make sense, I'll talk to the client about it. Like that's like yeah, the technicians don't need to be bothered like that. I never like doing that when I'm working. Like I'm in my mindset, I don't need to deal with people. Like,
Uh-huh.
you
See,
know?
that's so opposite, because 2 weeks ago I was telling the story. I had a lady in with a 2004 TJ, and we'd gone through a misfire diag, and I didn't screw it up in terms of I put the wrong part in, but I was almost going to put the wrong part in because it finally just needed a little bit more testing and fleshing out to prove the repair. Anyway, she leaves, she's happy, she comes back with a box of chocolates, and she like comes to the counter and she's like, "Who's the mechanic that worked on my car?" And we'd seen it pull in, and I'm like, watch this, right? I told you it needed an oxygen sensor. Well, that's not how it went. She goes, "Who worked on my car?" And I went, I did. She hands me this box of like Lindor chocolates, and she's like, "It's never run so good in as long as I've owned it." We get talking about Jeeps because she's got 2 more at home. I'm like, "Well, have you ever driven one of the new ones?" "Well, no." "Well, then, Jimmy, I'm out there. I take her on a 5-minute test drive in my 15 Wrangler." Because she's talking like, we got to get rid of this '04. It's getting higher in mileage and it's in great shape, but we want to get something. My boss was over the moon, totally cool with that I did that.
Yeah.
But I can see how some shop owners would have been like, "You were gone for 10 minutes driving a customer
yeah.
around."
I guess let me reiterate. If that's what they wanted, I wouldn't have a problem with it. So
Mm-hmm.
not to like backtalk myself, but I didn't. Yeah, not to put it in the connotation that's like you don't talk to the clients. I
Right.
try to just set up barriers to make sure that doesn't happen outside of their own um I don't know, wants or needs. Like I
Yeah.
said, like if they want to walk up and shake their hand and give them, oh, dude, and sure. Like and if they got a question and we get a lot of old hot rods, and so it's like
Yeah.
if they want to talk to the technician that's working on their $100,000 car, I got no problem with it. But I just try to set it up with layers of like, is there anything that we can help to answer your question before you distract or pull away the tech? Because I think for the most part, most guys in the shop, they don't really want to interact with the people,
Yeah.
and not to say they're like a bunch of monkeys in the back that you got to just throw bananas at them and
Yeah.
feed them once a day. It's just I never liked it, and I think for the most part it's worked pretty well for me as far as the guys I have. Like if I don't have to talk to the people that come in, it just sets them apart and lets them just focus on the job
Mm-hmm.
and not have I don't know, because you know how people can bring their car in and so the last guy said it might be this or that and the other thing, and then all of a sudden this is spinning in your mind, and you don't want to call something else out and be wrong when the client said, "Oh, well, I think it's an oxygen sensor." It's like
Yeah.
actually it's the mass airflow,
Yeah.
but it could be the O2 sensor. So it's like I just don't want that, in their minds.
Yeah.
Just
It's
part of it.
it for me. It's a 100%. How are you paying me? It determines what my level of interaction is with the technician,
Yeah.
with the customer. That's it.
I,
If
yeah.
if I'm flat rate and you either got to bump this labor time now for me to have a 20-minute consult with a customer, or I can't have it. It's just the way it goes, unless it's a situation of I've got to flush out and trying to track down an intermittent or something like that, or whatever, like the advisor didn't get enough information. That's the other thing we struggle sometimes to text. I think people don't realize is we need a whole lot more information about these cars, the symptoms anyway, than what we're still getting. I think we're getting better. My boss has now got a sheet, with the, what is it, the 3 C's, the 5 C's, whatever you want to
Yeah, the
teach,
5 C's,
cause
yeah.
correction, all that kind of stuff. My boss has gotten better now about getting a sheet out there with like to the customers, like when does it do it? What's it doing? What's the complaint? All that kind of stuff. But trying to get that down to routine to where it's like every time. And then there's some customers that kick back, right? You slide a sheet across there and they look at you like, well, you're the technicians. Like you're the ones that's supposed to know. I shouldn't have to be interrogated about what my car
Yeah.
is doing when, that's rough. But sometimes you got a half an hour inspection time quoted and you'd go and drive it. And if it's a noise thing, it's making 3 noises. Which noise do you want fixed? Like that's rough,
Yeah, and yeah, it's just communication.
Mm-hmm.
And tell
Yeah.
them what the importance of this interrogation is, what the
Mm-hmm.
importance of taking the technician out for a drive is, when that's absolutely necessary. I mean, I'm with you there too. I mean, if they can build a relationship with the client on their own, and
Yeah.
like, and I'm I'm cool with that. I'm in the mindset of, if I can have a vehicle come through my shop and my hands are not in that interaction at all, and the client leaves happy, the vehicle's repaired, and everybody's paid, I win. That's a win for me. And not a lot of guys think that way. They want to be part of that personal interaction somehow. But I feel like if I can, like I said, get the client in and they establish a relationship with the people that run the business, and I don't have to interact, or don't have to, but I don't interject myself, or there's no
Yeah.
use for me, like
Yeah.
that's a win for me,
Right.
and I can just step in and say, "Hey man, how's your kids?" And they're like, and I have nothing to do with the business, but I can just talk to them on a personal level as far as the client, right? Like I
Mm-hmm.
don't need to be a part of the process, but I can still step in and say, "Hey, I'm glad you're here. Thanks for coming in." And like that's my only part of that. Like that's a win,
Yeah.
and so yeah, if they can build a relationship with the client, with the technicians, and be like, "Hey man, are they here today?" Like, yeah.
Yeah.
But then that's the other problem too. Then you lose that tech, then you lose the client.
Yeah.
So it's like
Yeah.
it's that twofold thing as well. Like, so without like completely alienating the entire staff from each client that comes in, it's tough, man. It's like, what's the right answer? I don't know.
I interviewed at a shop once where I ended up not getting the job because they phoned me and told me literally they were going to hire back a technician that had quit the shop because when he quit the shop, a bunch of the customers followed him to the next place that he was at.
Perfect.
And I'm like, I'm looking at the guy, like I'm not looking at him, but when I'm hearing this on the phone call, I'm going like, seriously? Like, what do you, to me, there is no better scenario where a technician's going to put the owner over a barrel than right there.
Right.
I've got you right where I want you, really, from a negotiation standpoint.
Yep.
Like, what is it? Like, and I wasn't asking for the moon, but I was like, we kind of sat down and discussed what he was good at. As he's a younger guy than me, not that great of a technician, opening a shop, a typical thing in over his head. And then when he calls me and tells me that, I'm like, wow, are you ever in for a rude awakening? And now I see that there's still, it's one of those shops that's always got an ad up trying to hire a mechanic. But
And that just circles right back to the beginning of like that, hiring that unicorn or that rock star technician, and being able to still efficiently lead it with someone in the shop that's better than you.
Yeah. For somebody then in your past iteration at that shop, you must have probably spent as a training guy then. Did you not go on a ton of road tests with customers?
No.
No, eh?
Mm-mm.
How did that get handled? They just like it had nothing but neutrals by the time it got there, or
Pretty much everything was pretty much a toe in. Yeah. I mean, every once in a while you build something, and um I mean, I guess thinking back, there was a few times I could probably replay a little bit, but the previous owner would pretty much schmooze that. I mean, he was a people person. I mean, that was just what he did,
yeah.
and a lot of the time he would just convince them that that's just how it works.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you have a problem? Go do it. Smooth them. Talk them a little bit. Like, oh, that's just how it's gonna be.
Yeah.
It's just gonna engage kind of hard in the drive from now on. And that's just what you're gonna have to. That's just.
Yeah.
And so that was it. And it's like it was just weird. And I don't know if this is the right thing or the wrong thing, but he was good at it. Like,
Well,
and so yeah, for the most part, it was like it was failed. Take it out. Or
mm-hmm.
if it had a small problem that was bigger than something he could manage getting them to be okay with, it was like just pull it in, rip it back out, tear it back apart. And I think that's pretty standard for most transmission shops. If there's some sort of issue with a rebuild you just did, take it out, tear it apart. Or even if it comes in with a small problem, take it out and tear it apart. Right? Like that's what you're there to do, is get a transmission on the bench.
Yeah, but
I wasn't into it, but that's just how it was.
it's crazy to me. It's
Yeah.
such a different way of thinking. I mean, I obviously I saw guys at the dealer do it multiple times.
Yeah.
Because I mean, we know sometimes at the dealer, like you're paid to do a rebuild, but if you're going in there and it's only got a flare and what gear, you're not necessarily rebuilding it, air quotes, the whole thing, right? You might go in there and do a couple, one clutch pack or something
If
like
it
that.
if it came back under warranty, it was definitely just get in there and fix what's broken. But
Mm-hmm.
for me personally, as a rebuilder, it was like, no, if I'm going through this thing, I'm going through this thing, because
Right.
that if you touch it,
Yes.
You own it. And it's like, I had the same problem with valve body issues, right?
Uh-huh.
The 4R70s would break the snap ring gets stuck in the 3/4 sequence valve. You lose third gear. And you could drop the valve body. You could put the new snap ring on the overdrive servo, clean out the valve body, put it, and boom, it's fixed, right?
Right.
Reverse goes out in 6 months. Hey, so you guys rebuilt my transmission about 6 months ago. Like, hang on a second here.
Yeah. Yeah.
No. Well,
Yeah.
it was like $600. Like, okay, again, no. Like, that's not what a rebuild is. So
Right.
it's tough too, because it's like, how do you make that call to be, in quotes, fair?
Yeah.
Right. And by fair, I mean provide a service where the client is spending a certain amount of money, right? Because if they got to come back and reverse, you can't fix it, through the valve body. You got to take the trans out, right? So you're rebuilding it. So they
Yeah.
just spent $600 for nothing.
Yeah.
Basically, if it's been 6 months and it fixed their problem at the time, but that 600 could have gone towards the rebuild. But at that time, can you call that out? Same with head jobs, right? Like if it's
Yeah.
got 300,000 miles on it and you do a head job on it, pretty upset a year later when that bottom end gives out. But does that turn you into a slimy salesman where you're like, oh, it needs a head job, we're putting an engine in it?
Yeah.
You turn into Oprah Winfrey and everyone gets an engine. Like it's like, where do you cross that line of like trying to just do the right thing?
Yeah.
By, in quotes, not doing the right thing.
And we had a Santa Fe in this week with a 14 Santa Fe with a 3.3 with a heating complaint of, we're pretty sure, well, we know it's passing combustion gases into the cooling system. So if you're driving down the road and you're giving it some throttle and it's going along good, it's heating well. You're getting like 160 degrees Fahrenheit through the vent. But man, you can stop that thing, turn it around, do a U-turn, and you'll watch the temp coming out of the dash drop like 40 degrees in like 2 minutes. And then, of course, you just start to drive it again. So, I mean, the heat was always going away. It's passing combustion gases in the cooling system. So we give the option, we're talking about the customer. Okay, so it's probably, we're going to be into this for doing some cylinder heads. And then I said to the bosses, well, wait a minute, right? It's still a Hyundai with 180 on it, 1,000 K.
Yeah.
Right? Like, do we quote chains? Do we quote phasers? Like, to me, because, every one of them, when you start it up when it's cold, they all have a rattle for a second. It goes away, right? We don't know the condition of this car. That to me is like where I can understand these shops that are like, no, we're not putting heads on stuff anymore. We're putting something that we can drop in with a warranty behind it, because we don't know. How do you quote that?
Yeah.
Because
and
the next shop,
then you can lose. Yeah, the next shop's gonna, just like you said with the inspections. If you don't call it out, the next shop will.
Yeah.
So if you overquote that job, the next shop will just put heads on it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Or
maybe it'll bite them in the ass, but maybe they do well on it.
Yeah. We give her the estimate for, 2 heads, 2 head gaskets, machine work for checking the heads at the shop. We quote her phasers and chains. Her dad calls up and says, why are you putting chains and phasers in this? Like, if it's only a head gasket leak, why are you doing that? Well, because in 6 months' time, we don't want that little bit of rattle that's there now for the first 15 seconds that it runs to be there all the time. That's why we do it, right? That's why we quote that, because we're just trying to cover our butt. The customer never seems to understand why we as owners, technicians, and want to cover ourselves. I don't understand that mentality, because any other business out there operates at a certain way so that they could protect themselves.
Right.
But we're not allowed to.
Right.
It's funny to me. Really funny.
Yeah. I think just having the conversation, quoting it out 3 different ways a Sunday. Here's all your options.
Does that not overwhelm you?
I'd rather overwhelm them now than later, right?
Huh?
I mean, it's like, you got to do something. So you can either make your best judgment call, be wrong, and have them be overwhelmed and upset later on, or here's all your options.
Yeah.
You tell me what you want to do. If you have any questions, I got no problem explaining to you every option that's on the table. But for now, this is what it is. And it's like, sometimes it's like, well, option A here is just the head jobs. This is probably what you're going to get when you call around for quotes.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is your comparable quote. Okay. This one over here on the right, this is what we do. And this is why we're a quality A+ shop with, the reputation we have. And here's your options throughout the middle that could give you a used engine or a brand new engine if you're going to keep this thing for 10 years. So it's just having that conversation and taking the extra time to say, here's everything, instead of just trying to push that sale just to move on to the next one.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Are you not scared of the Google review though, Jimmy, if it goes bad? I mean, we see the guys talk all the time about like, Google review plays such a huge input into how they make some of these decisions. Like, what if you do it the way they want it done, but then in 6 months' time, they're still on Google saying,
That's a good, yeah, that's a good point. So I think it's again explaining to them why that job is cheap, and about 9 times out of 10, that's off the table within 10 minutes. Well, I don't want to do that. Yeah, because you're wasting your money.
Right.
And so, and that's what it is. And you tell them, like, this is a waste of money, and let me explain to you why it's a waste of money. Yeah. And it's just like, and then once they approve that, and it does, sometimes they want the used option, sometimes they want whatever. And we just had a vehicle, Crown Vic, come in, and he needed a transmission, and we told him the new one, a rebuilt one, and a used one, and said, look, we could get a used one, but we're going to charge you to pull the pan off, put it on the bench, pull the converter, drain the converter. And that's what we do with used units. We take valve covers off, take timing covers off, take the oil pan off. We strip it down to look. And if we get it in here and we strip it down, you're going to pay us for that time. And if it's not good, we're not installing it, bottom line. And that's what happened. We pulled the pan off. It was full of metals. Like, they don't have another one available.
Yeah.
So you pay us for our inspection on this used unit. We send the unit back, and that's what it is. I'm not putting it in. Like, we're not doing it. Like, so that's where you draw the line. Like, I still have to have a technical ability to say, look, okay, if you want to do that option, here's how that's going to look. Mm-hmm. Right. And it might come to the point where we're not going to use that component. We're not going to do it. And the same with the head job, right? If we take this head job, we had one on a Ford Flex, the famous Ford Flex. Mm-hmm. With the water pump, with the water gets in the oil. And so we said, okay, we'll do the water pump on it because it's leaking like a sieve, and we're going to do cams and quote it all out. It was a big $6,000-$7,000 job where the engine was like 12 or 15, right? And he didn't want to do the engine, even though we recommended it. And we told him, look, we tear this thing apart and we find that passage is full of, oil and coolant has gotten with oil. We're not putting it back together. And that's what happened. We tore it down. Sorry, we can't, we're not doing it. And we just explained to him, like, this is, and if you want to have someone else put it back together, that's fine. But this is what we're going to do. We're going to tear it down and we're going to hope for the best. But if we don't feel comfortable with it, we're not going to do it. So that's how we handle those.
That takes some guts. We had a guy, speaking of Ford Flex, we had a customer come in. This was a funny, he comes in with a Ford Flex and he's like, never been there before. And he's like, I need an injector put in my Ford Flex. And like, we're kind of like rolling our eyes as we're discussing this in the back, like, oh yeah, Mr. Mechanic Man, how do you know you need an injector? Well, it turns out he's one of these guys with his own code reader, right? And he's got a misfire on 6 and, a misfire on 6, misfire DTC, and misfire, injector code. So maybe he's right. And my boss says, okay, well, the initial inspection for that's going to be whatever amount. And the guy's like losing his mind to the advisor out front, who's the boss's daughter. So where she's like, she doesn't know what to do. So she goes and gets dad, and dad lays it down to him. We're not just going to put your injector in because you asked for an injector, right? For your misfire. Like, we are still going to go through our testing process to see why this car is misfiring, and then we'll proceed and we'll give you an estimate for an injector and so on and so forth. Well, sure enough, the customer was right. It had an injector fault, quick check on the injector. Yeah, it's wide open. It's dead. Needs an injector. Put it in, clear the codes, test drive it, the whole thing. That customer, we probably won't see him again. And you probably will tell everybody we're expensive. But thank God my boss has the whereabouts to know we're not going to let him come in here and just install an injector because that's what he wants, because he was that type of guy who, I'm sure if it didn't work, would be on Google tomorrow telling everybody they put my injector in and they couldn't fix my misfire.
Yeah.
Yep. Like, I can't stand that when we let the customer dictate the repair process. It drives me up the wall.
Yep.
How are you getting a ton of work because of the podcast? Like, are customers starting to come in? Because I know the radio show has always got your name out there, but are you seeing?
Yeah, I get more from the radio show than the podcast at this point in time. So
yeah,
we'll see. We'll see how the next year pans out. But
yeah, somebody messaged me this morning and they said their customers, one of my former guests, their customers are seeing a lot of the shorts because he's sharing them, and he's like, they're coming in and they're telling him how much they love these shorts that we had for an episode I did with him. And I'm like, wow, that's pretty friggin' cool that somebody's already like seeing me, and me interact with their shop owner or their, and and liking it.
Right.
That's such a, I forget that these conversations that I'm having with these people is being seen by so many people. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
You
It
try
has,
not to you try not to think about it.
I don't. It's overwhelming sometimes. It really is. Like,
I think about that on the radio too. And I think about all the populations of the cities that can hear, and I'm like, nope, not gonna think about that again.
it's tough, isn't it? Like, I mean, it really is. Like, and then and then, you know, who I think about Jimmy in return is I just think about Paul Danner.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you know, there's the guy in Florida the other day, right? And he needs car repair. And he's like, hey, reach out to somebody that I met. I know he's around here somewhere. Like, that guy, just to be able to put it out there, you know, has done so much to put himself out there that he's not worried at all. You know,
Right.
and
Oh yeah.
that's how I try to conduct myself at the shop now. Is it's like I've got to remember when and I don't advertise where I worked. It's not, you know, it's the boss's business, not my business. So, but I think now it's a conscious thing in my brain all the time about how I'm doing the job or doing the repair, because it's like I've got this platform now of people are gonna, and I'm trying not to screw that up, but it's tough sometimes. It really is, you know, because you just want to do the thing that is gonna get it done, but sometimes the thing that's gonna get it done isn't necessarily the best thing.
Well, I think you're authentically you.
Yeah.
So that's just is what it is, you know? I think at this point there's no other way but up,
Mhm.
because you haven't tried to portray anything or anything else but what you do and who you are.
Yeah.
And that's what's important. And I think that's I think that's like the fear of like saying the wrong thing or doing the wrong thing. But it's like, if you start day one as like, this is just how I think and how I am and how I'm evolving, then like,
Yeah.
you know, unless I don't know, unless you completely change who you are. But
Yeah.
I think at this point, in time, we're pretty hard headed. I don't think we're going to be changing who we are anytime
No.
soon.
You and I are both the same way. I think it's just like it is what it is. We're not trying to hide anything, right? Like, I'm just, my opinions are not, and that's the thing, they're long formed. So Lucas has been great in getting me to see the bigger picture sometimes in different perspectives. But I mean, like, I was having a conversation with Mike
Well,
Allen.
if I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong. Let's talk about it. Like, I got no problem being wrong. I'm wrong a lot. A
Yeah.
lot. And the only reason why I even know the small amount that I know now is because someone told me I was wrong. Right. And so it's like,
Yeah.
and the more people I can get in front of and talk to, then they can tell me what they think. And it's like, dude, tell me I'm wrong. Let's talk about it. I'm not
Yeah.
going to argue. We can debate or whatever, but I don't know. I think that's the biggest problem too, is you're stuck in your ways. It works for you. You don't want to change it. You're scared of change. You're scared of whatever. But every time that we change, we evolve, and it's usually for the better.
Yeah. Are you head of division at the end of the month?
No.
No way. I'm on the fence about it. I could be there. I'm not sure. Yeah.
This year we got our coaching program. We're doing groups, so we're traveling. So I'll be in Boston in May.
Oh, all right.
And then we're headed to Alaska in September, I believe.
Oh,
so,
that's not business. That's just vacation travel.
No, it's business.
Oh, really?
So yeah, looking at other shops. So the group meetings are really cool because we go to other shop owners, 15, 16 different other shop owners that we all get together and meet up and talk.
So you're flying over Canada to go to Alaska?
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't drive through it.
It's supposedly a beautiful trip. I know that highway that runs from California right up there. I've heard people talk about it. I can't remember the name of it. It escapes me. But people have said that it's an amazing trip. Like, I
had a tech from the Coast Guard make that drive. So we hired him. He drove down from Anchorage straight to us.
Yeah.
It was years ago, but yeah, no, I know what you're talking about. We'll fly. I think that's probably better.
So no trip planned to Canada yet?
Not yet, but I do know this guy. It was Jerry. He's in Alberta.
Okay.
He owns a European shop.
Oh, that's too bad. Yeah.
So maybe next year we'll go visit his shop.
For me to travel to Alberta is like pretty much like me going, across the continent. Like, it's far.
I thought it was all the same.
No, it's a huge country, dude. It'd be like me going to Florida. Like, I think it's probably shorter distance for me to come to you than me to go to Alberta. I'd have to check.
Oh, wow.
It. Yeah, it's massive.
Okay. I thought I was like, you got to be close to that, right? They're in Canada. You're in Canada. It's
3-hour drive.
Same. It's like the same, right?
No, it's guys go. You hear me talk all the time about guys go to Fort McMurray. The Mac, they call it up here in Canada, because that's like the boom town in terms of our country of where you can make the most money in the trades. And I think it's a 2-day drive to get to the Mac. So depending on where he is in Alberta, now that's, you're talking oil sands, right? Money, like that's like big money.
I see.
So I don't know if he's got a European shop out there. It tends to be in the Mac. You're servicing a lot of trucks.
Yeah.
The
Hard
Mac's
to say, I don't know.
Yeah, but no,
all new relationships that we're making, so it's good. It's good involvement, and I'll try to make it out to ASTA. It's not ASTE anymore, I guess. So we'll see what happens there. But
yeah, I'm sure at some point the coaching group's going to wind up like if they could get somebody like, Toronto or Ottawa. Those are not that far. Upstate New York or like Buffalo. Buffalo is probably a 3-hour drive from me. It's not that far.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, if you're ever out that way, I'll definitely come buy you dinner. I can even cross over. I'm still allowed to go into America. So.
Oh, nice. The Americas.
Yeah, the Americas. Who knows how long that'll last? But yeah, I might wind up at Vision. I don't know yet. We're sitting on the fence about whether we go or not. Just a couple things are up in the air if I can make the trip or not. So, but I'll be at probably ASTA in the fall, and if I don't go to ASTA, I'll be at Apex and SEMA. So,
well, I'll see you there for sure then.
Yeah, I want to see SEMA, right? Like that's been the goal since I was a kid, was to see that show. So,
well, we'll be hanging out there.
Yeah. Are you working on anything cool at the shop right now? I saw you driving. Was that a C10 you were bombing around in a couple weeks ago?
No.
Whose truck was it you were out running around? You posted the other day, kind of laying some rubber down in a truck.
I did.
I think it was from your podcast. I'm sure of it. So, and then there was somebody else crawling around, and it looked like you were on a sand dune or something somewhere in a Jeep or an off road.
I don't think that was me.
Maybe I was drunk. I don't know. So not working on anything cool then?
No, putting that rack, that alignment machine together.
Yeah.
That's been my focus. I got the 68 C10 that I'm putting together.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a little ways before it's done.
Yeah. Yeah. Is it
too many irons?
SEMA level kind of build?
I wouldn't call it that. No.
Oh, okay.
No. It'll be nice though.
Yeah. Well, I have no doubt that it'll be nice, I'm sure. And anything you work on is probably going to be,
It's always tough to see how nice it's going to be when you're doing it yourself,
Yeah.
It's like you always admire somebody else's work more than your own.
Mm-hmm. Some of the stuff though you see behind the scenes at SEMA, and it's like when you've seen that everybody talks about like some of they get up real close and they look at the welds on stuff.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, So I don't know if that's the greatest thing to say is SEMA build quality, but
there is a SEMA build quality that you're referencing that's actually SEMA build quality, and then there are the guys that just get in there just to be in there. And you know what? They got a car there, so as bad as it might look, they got a car there and I don't. So you know what I mean?
Yeah. I want to go walk around and I want to try and meet like Chip Foose and Stacy Dave and all those kind of guys, right? Like I'd just say because I mean they're what got me into this, right? Going back to that whole enthusiast thing. That's why I picked up a wrench in the first place, is because I had an older Chevelle, and I was a kid in high school that needed to get places, and I was going to fix this car, and that's.
And you got the kids nowadays. They're like, "Who's Stacy David?" And you're like, "Oh my god, no, I've gotten old."
Yeah. Or like I talk about like Sam Mamolo and Dave, I can't remember his last name, but they were like Shade Tree Mechanic was the TV show way back on TNN, Nashville Network. And like, I grew up watching those guys. Right. So it's like, Stacy David is now one of the older guys.
Right.
And it's like, how do these young people not know? But they know, I mean, who do they know? Right. They know like Ken Block, or they know some of those other, or
Richard Rawlings.
Yeah, I was just going to say our buddy Richard Rawlings. They know who that is, right? So it's it's cool. So
well, this has been fun, man. It's been good catching up.
I know I've been missing you, so it hasn't been. I don't seem to have enough time with this new job. It's a 4-day work week, and it's like Friday is just kind of like a decompress, and then the weekend seems to go by so fast, and then you do your weekend stuff, right, that you're always doing, and it's like before you know it, it's like wow. And then between trying to get all the other episodes recorded,
right.
I've been wanting to sit down with you and do this. So, because we talked at ASTE, but then that episode's coming out soon. And then it's like just trying to
4 months like that. What the hell just happened?
It is though. It's crazy. Like, cause I think about like now the new job's feeling very routine, but I realize that it's feeling routine, but I haven't been here still that long. So that's a good sign, right? For me, if it's already feeling routine and it hasn't been that long, like it feels comfortable, but yeah. So what's the end goal for Jimmy? Like in the future, what do you got? Immediate goals?
Well, we got the shop across the way going in.
Okay.
So we're expanding 4,000 more square feet.
Wow.
So I think it's a big push this year to get management staff together.
Mm-hmm.
Really peel the layers as far as having, management team, more technicians, and really kind of evolve the business and see what happens.
Yeah.
Go that direction of like let's go. Let's do the thing. Let's see what happens. Right. The podcast is becoming really important to me. I feel like it's really making a difference for myself and for talking to other people and getting more information out there. I feel like the more you start doing the research, the more you start realizing the information I have and the value that I can bring, even though that's really hard to wrap my own mind around it. Like I have value that I can promote. And as I'm learning more in the coaching program, I like to, promote that process, because you can say what you're doing, but to actually have someone hold you accountable is totally different. So I don't think I'm giving away the secrets. I think it's just like promoting that the education that you receive is valuable, and getting more owners and technicians and advisors into training, right?
Yeah.
It's a coaching program, sure, but it's training, right?
Yeah.
And so it's just like advocating for training. Like, man, I really like, people listen to me say, I really like the way you, like, who taught you that? Who it's like, no one really taught me it, right? It's like, I heard what I wanted to hear and now I use it. And there's so much. You don't have to do verbatim of what someone else in quote successful is doing, but just take what they're doing and kind of use a little bit of that, right? Like use the tips and the tricks, like, and it applies to all parts of automotive repair and in the industry. Like a service advisor might say something that really sticks with you. Like, I like how he phrased that, and you steal it, take it, right? Technician finds a tip or a trick to get something done faster. Steal it, use it. The owner's got a good management style. Steal it, like, it's just like, and no one's going to use this stuff like verbatim. You have to use it what works for you. So I enjoy it. I enjoy just getting that information out there.
Yeah, it's therapeutic, isn't it? Like that's what I find is that like it Lucas put me on a path, and I'll always thank him and David, because it's just now when I go to a Napa training event, right, or a Napa training night, there's a group of people that is always telling me, in the little break that we have, I love that episode, or I love this episode, or like that's so foreign to me, because I think of like
absolutely
small little area, right? And then it's like people that are at another shop are listening to what I have to say every Tuesday morning. Like it's humbling, but it's therapeutic to have the conversations. And Lucas made he made a post about is he arrogant enough to think that he can change the industry? And he's like, no, I can't, but I can be part. And I'm like, you're friggin' right, I'm changing it. Yeah. Look at the effect that it's having, the conversations, right? Am I one particular person steering somebody to greatness? No. But I mean, we're having the conversations that should have always been happening. And all of a sudden now you're seeing just little, like you said, little tweaks all the time, little tweaks, nothing verbatim, just changing little nuggets, things that we do. And all of a sudden you're seeing a lot more techs get a lot better at their jobs. They make some more money. Shops start charging a little more, see their value. Yeah, we're 100% changing it. So
love it.
I love it. Cool, Thank you very much, brother. We'll talk to you.